Warnings. The following broadcast contains high-octane nightmare fuel gathered from the darkest corners of the internet. Keep your eyes on the road. Keep your doors locked. And whatever you do, don't look in the rear-view mirror. You are listening to Grave Shift, 18 Wheels to Hell.
You know, there's this idea of the trucking life that we all have in our heads. It's all about freedom, the open highway, that sort of thing.
Right, the modern-day cowboy.
Exactly. But there's a whole other reality, isn't there? Especially when the sun goes down.
Oh, absolutely. I mean, when you strip all that romance away, what you're left with is the pure logistics of it. You have these drivers, often alone, moving massive machines through really isolated places.
And that is exactly where we're going with this. We're looking at a story from a Reddit user, Olis Langen. And this isn't some news report or a safety statistic. It's a memory, a childhood memory that just turns on a dime from this heartwarming trip into, well, something from a horror movie.
It's a really jarring story.
Right.
And what's so powerful is that we're seeing it all through a child's eyes, or really an adult looking back on a trauma he saw as a kid. It touches on so many things, safety, our own vulnerability, and just how indifferent nature can be.
So our mission here isn't just to tell a scary story. We want to unpack what actually happened on that roadside. We want to look at the biology of what they faced, the grandfather's reaction, and why we even tell these kinds of stories.
Yeah, exactly. And that's how we need to look at it, almost like an after-action report.
Okay, so let's set the scene. The narrator, Olis Langen, he basically grew up in a truck cab, started going with his grandfather when he was about 5.
As soon as he was potty trained, that was the rule.
That was the only rule. And after that, he was basically a co-pilot.
Which is, I mean, that's a huge thing for a kid's development.
Yeah.
He says by age 12, he had seen most over all of Europe. Think about what that does to your worldview. Most kids know their neighborhood. This kid knew the entire continent.
Right.
But it also means he was exposed to the adult world and the dangers that come with it way earlier than most kids.
Yeah, he wasn't a tourist. And he makes a point of saying his grandfather had already taught him a lot of bad words along the road. So there's this really authentic, kind of rough around the edges bond there.
It establishes trust. The grandfather is the protector. He's the one in control of this safe little bubble, the truck cab.
Which makes what happens next even more terrifying. So the setting, it's summer, they're driving through Austria, and this is a key detail. He says they're on a smaller highway.
Not the Autobahn.
Not the Autobahn. Why is that so important?
Well, the Autobahn is, it's sterile, right? It's fenced, it's lit. There are rest stops everywhere.
Total infrastructure.
Totally. A smaller highway in Austria, that means you're winding through forests, through the Alps. The line between your truck and the wilderness is basically gone. You're in the ecosystem.
And as anyone on a long road trip knows, eventually nature calls. The grandfather has to use the bathroom. And the story makes it clear this was urgent.
This wasn't a choice. It wasn't, let's find the next service station. It was a biological necessity. And it forced an error. He had to prioritize that need over, security. He just pulls over.
So let's paint the picture. He grabs toilet paper and a flashlight, gets out, goes around the front of the truck to a ditch. The kid stays inside and rolls down the window.
Okay, so it's dark, or at least dim. And the child rolls down the window. You can just imagine it. A warm night, maybe you hear crickets. There's this total but false sense of calm. The kid thinks he's just waiting. The grandfather thinks he's just, taking care of business.
And that calm lasts for, and the source says this specifically, max 1 minute.
That's how fast it happens.
How?
From 0 to 100.
The narrator hears shouting. And the word he uses for the tone is despair. Despair.
Wow.
Not anger, not fear even, but despair.
That's a very specific word. Despair means you've lost all hope. You think it's over.
So the kid looks out, and here comes his grandfather running along the side of the trailer. His pants are down around his knees.
Okay, we have to stop there for a second, because the image is, on the surface, almost slapstick.
Right. You might chuckle.
But from a survival perspective, this is pure terror. Think about when an animal is most vulnerable. When it's eating, sleeping, or,
Right.
Your mobility is gone, your awareness is low. For him to run without pulling his pants up means that whatever he saw was so terrifying, it completely overrode the risk of tripping and the basic instinct for, dignity.
He flies up the steps into the cab, slams the door shut, and he's just screaming. screaming words that the kid has never even heard before.
And this is a kid who knows trucker swears.
Exactly.
It just confirms the level of shock. He's not thinking, he's not filtering. It's just pure primal fear coming out. The limbic system is taken over completely.
So he's back in the truck, he's safe. But it's not over. The kid hears this crazy commotion outside. So the grandfather, he grabs the flashlight, shines it out the window, and they see two mental wild boars.
Mental is the narrator's word, but let's talk about what a wild boar actually is. People think of them like farm pigs. They are not. They're like furry tanks. All muscle, low center of gravity, and the males have these tusks that are literally as sharp as razors.
And they're attacking the truck.
Yeah, headbutting it, fighting with the lower parts. That is not normal animal behavior. Usually they'd run from a giant metal machine.
So what does that level of aggression mean?
It means they were defending something.
Defending something or claiming something. Because this is where the story shifts from just a scary animal encounter to something much, much darker.
You're right. The boars aren't the real horror. They're just the symptom.
So the grandfather, once he catches his breath, he explains what happened. He was in the ditch, squatting down. A car passes on the highway.
And his headlights just sweep across the ditch. And in that one flash of light, his entire world changes.
He saw a body.
A body. Lying there in the ditch, maybe 5 meters away from him.
In a full leather suit and a motorcycle helmet.
Just imagine that for a second. The complete cognitive dissonance. You're in a dark ditch in Austria. You expect to see grass, trash maybe. You do not expect to see a dead biker.
But then it gets worse. He thinks the body is moving, so he shines his own flashlight on it.
And that's the moment right there. That's the detail that makes this a complete nightmare.
A split second later, the narrator says a boar looked out from inside the leather jacket.
Okay, let's just break that down because it's gruesome, but it explains everything.
So when he says looked out from inside, he means...
I mean, the boar had likely burrowed into the person's torso. Boars root, they use their snouts to dig. And the story says the boar was covered in blood and mess. The grandfather didn't interrupt a fight. He interrupted a meal.
Oh my God. That is horrific. So the movement he saw, it wasn't the biker. It was the boar inside him.
Correct. And that explains the aggression. To those boars, the grandfather wasn't just some guy. He was a threat, a competitor for their food. They were defending their kill.
And he must have realized if there's one boar in the jacket,
The other one is right there.
the other one has to be close.
Exactly. A proximity alarm just went off in his head. He knew he was in striking distance of a second predator. That's why he ran. No time for pants, no time for anything. Dignity versus death.
They just drove, got out of there as fast as they could to the first truck stop they could find. And the narrator adds this one detail that I find so fascinating. He says after all that, his grandfather didn't need to use the bathroom anymore.
That is a textbook physiological response to extreme fear. It's your sympathetic nervous system just taking complete control.
The fight or flight response.
Exactly. But we don't always think about what that does to your insides. Your brain perceives a mortal threat, a blood-covered boar staring at you, and it floods your body with adrenaline. It needs all energy for your muscles, for running. Digestion, waste elimination, those are non-essential, so your body literally shuts those systems down. The urge is just chemically suppressed.
His body just said, nope, we can poop later. Right now we run.
Pretty much, yeah. It's a survival override.
They did call the police eventually. They reported the body.
Which just brings this heavy dose of reality to it. That was a real person, a motorcyclist who crashed and died alone in that ditch. And because it was so isolated, nature started its process before humans could even find him.
It's like 3 different timelines just collided in that one spot. The bikers, which had already ended, the grandfathers just needing a bathroom break, and the boars finding a meal.
And if the grandfather hadn't had that urgent need, who knows how long that biker would have been there. Days. Weeks.
The narrator says that afterwards, they were scared, of course, but then he says, boy, did we tell that story to everyone we ever meet on the road.
And that is such an important part of it. It's what people in dangerous jobs do. Soldiers, police, truckers. It's a kind of folklore.
Like a badge of honor.
It is, but it's also functional. First, it's a warning, hey, watch out for ditches in Austria. But more than that, it's a coping mechanism. When you turn trauma into a story, especially one with a funny detail like the pants,
right?
You take control of it. You strip it of some of its power.
If you don't laugh about the pants, you have to cry about the body.
Exactly that. The humor is a shield. It lets them process the absolute horror of what they saw without letting it break them.
It just perfectly captures the two sides of that life, doesn't it? You're in this high-tech machine, listening to the radio, talking to your grandson, and just a few feet away, outside the door, this brutal, primal drama is unfolding.
That is the fundamental tension of the road. We built these highways, we put up guardrails, and we fool ourselves into thinking we've tamed everything. But the asphalt is just a thin line. You step off it at night, and you're in their world.
A world with very different rules.
Completely. And you're just a visitor.
Do you think this changed the narrator? The kid?
How could it not? I mean, at 12 years old, you're supposed to be worried about homework. This kid saw, up close, what happens when we die. He saw his hero, his grandfather, run for his life in absolute terror. That shatters your view of the world.
But they kept going. They kept trucking.
That's resilience, isn't it? They took that experience, integrated it, and they kept moving down the road. Probably made them a lot more cautious.
So it's the lesson here for the rest of us, for those of us not driving big rigs.
I think it's about situational awareness. We walk around with so many assumptions. We assume a ditch is just an empty ditch. This story is a reminder to question that, to really look.
And trust your gut. The grandfather didn't hang around to figure it all out. He saw the anomaly, and he bolted.
Speed saved him. When you're dealing with a wild animal, hesitation can be fatal. He just went straight to flight.
It really changes how you look at the side of the road on a long night drive. You just see the trees and the darkness, and you don't think about what might be in there watching you go by.
The world is a lot more crowded than we think. And just because we can't see them doesn't mean they aren't there, living out their own stories.
Well, on that comforting thought, I think we've untacked the horror of the Austrian ditch pretty thoroughly.
It's a good reminder to respect the road. And definitely respect the dark.
Before we sign off, I want to leave you with one final thought. The next time you're on a long drive and you pass one of those deep, dark patches of woods, ask yourself, is that really just empty scenery? Or is there a story playing out right now just beyond your headlights that is so intense it would change your life completely if you just stopped to see it?
And maybe keep your doors locked and hold it until the next rest stop.
Good advice. Thanks for listening to this deep dive. Stay safe out there.
Drive safe.
Keep the shiny side up and the shadows in your rear view. You've survived another grave shift. Over and out.